Okay, hello. Um, how do I start this? I forget. Anyway, so um, this is part 13, I think, of my series on building my own magic set. And this time I'm going to be talking about the green uncommons. And yeah, so the um, the humans and well, the humanoids of green are supposedly, at least, all about cultivating this land. These are people who have lost their traditions. They are because part of being the major thing about the green philosophy is that the traditions are important, and you have a community which is held up by these traditions, customs they've had for ages. So, well, what happens when they are put into a new situation where these communities don't exist anymore, and they run into other people who are who have their own customs. So basically, in order for these people to be able to form new communities, they have to form new traditions and so forth. Okay, so how do you put that into a magic card? I have no clue. I almost dropped an F-bomb there. Anyway, I don't know, and I don't think I achieved that. So if there was like some, sorry, I hit my microphone accidentally. So if there was like a team behind this, that would be something that they definitely should try to do here. Like I have some things they're doing, but not that much. Anyway, other thing is I wanted to have weird creatures here. Again, elementals rule. Well, 2 elementals here, but that's still quite a bit. Otherwise, a lot of variety in the humanoids. I have humans, elf, rocks, loxodon. So that's 4 different species there. And well, I have a wall as well. That's not really like, yeah, it's a creature type, but not really a creature. I want to get a lot of opportunities to get extra lands on the table in the uncommons. Well, there's some like producing extra mana. And I want to have like weird effects, things we obviously this is uncommon, so they can't be like effects out way out there, but the stuff you'd not necessarily expect from green. Well, obviously they need to feel like green, but in the non-creatures, I did a lot of like taking ideas from various green cards from over the years and trying to combine them in new ways. Yeah. Anyway, going through the creatures. So first, I wanted something that's kind of small in the beginning, but grows over time. Like many of these sets have these. Like in the Crimson Vow, which I'm again using as a skeleton here, it had the Baxon Bob, and there've been things like Long Tusk Cop in Calades, and whatever the name of the beetle from Last Theros. Yeah, but there's often these creatures which start out small but grow over time. I decided to like be a little bit careful here because it is uncommon. You don't want these to be like there well, you don't want them to be around always, because they can get out of hand so easily. So like I remember those games with like long task pop from which was like it starts out as a 2/2, and if you put 2 energy into it, it gains +1/+1 counter, and if it hits the opponent, you get energy from that. Was it 2, or was it equal to the number of damage it deals? I'm guessing it was 2. But anyway, it could get very easily out of hand if you weren't able to get rid of it immediately. And it always felt that you just couldn't. So that's not like interesting if you have to like jump early on. Like like a common pattern would be that the opponent gets to start and they play the long task cup on second turn. You play a blocker, and then it goes to their turn, and they remove the blocker, and now the long task cup is bigger. Might even if the removal was the lightning, it might even be like it might even be 4/4 on turn 3, and so forth. So at that point you're so far behind that it's that if you don't find removal immediately, you just can't you just can't catch up anymore. But I don't want that. So that's why I started as a 1/1, which obviously makes well, it takes an extra step to get going, and well, I decided that okay, whenever you surveil, put a +1/+1 counter on the card name. I was thinking about whether it should be whenever you surveil for the first time each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on card name. But I don't know, maybe you want that ability to go off. I did have a similar ability here. Well, almost the same, except that it's at vigilance, but when you surveil, it gets a +1/+1 counter, but it also taps this creature. So it has putting that +1/+1 counter has this. Well, surveiling has also this drawback on this specific creature, whereas the Duskkeep's Grounder doesn't have that same. Does not have that same. Oops. Let's not go there quite yet. Okay. So next one. Okay, Frontier Outpost sounds like a land. So it needs a better. Well, again, many of these cards need a better name, but I wanted like so that this set it doesn't become too aggressive. I wanted there to be some slower things. So I put this wall in 1 energy, 0/4, and tap to sacrifice card name. Search a lot for a basic land card and put it into play tapped. Might be a little bit too powerful. Not sure. Maybe the ability should cost some mana. Maybe. But on the other hand, comparing to something like Rampant Growth, for example, this does have that 1 turn delay because, well, it needs to tap and doesn't have haste. So in that sense, it's probably not that bad. It is cheaper than some effects that find a card and put it on the land tap, but still you can't do it on turn 2. You have to do it on turn 3, so it's at least a little bit slower. But I don't know. It might need a mana cost for the ability as well. Like in cards block, there was, I think it was a 1 mana 0/3 or something like that, something weird. That had the ability to. It was 1 blue for a 0/3, and it had the ability of like 2 and a green to find a basic land and put it on the battlefield tapped. So based on that, and sacrificed obviously. But anyway, so based on that, this might need that mana cost to make it more fair. So I guess I'll actually just do it. Yeah, so now it needs 1 mana, which might be quite a bit, considering that if you want to do it on turn 3, it means that you can't have a 3-drop. You need to play a 2-drop. Yeah. And of course, early on, you might want it to stick around. So there's this pull on that, push and pull into different sides as well. So fertilizer manufacturer needs a sort of name. But anyway, elf peasant, 2 energy, 2/3, and gets +2/+1 as long as you have 8 or more cards in your graveyard. I wanted there to be like a bonus. I've done this on another card, but I think it's in the black. Yeah, but anyway, I've done this on another card as well, where you need to have 8 cards in your graveyard. But I think the black one has, if any player has 8 cards in their graveyard. Let's check. Where is it? Yeah, if a player has 8 or more cards in the graveyard, card name has Menace and Death Touch. But anyway, I wanted the limit to be 8. And well, I wanted there to be a difference between black and green. So black, what is everyone's graveyard? Green, what is just your graveyard? Because well, green is more like interested in just working on their own plots and so forth, whatever. But yeah, it's potentially a 3 mana 4/4, but it will be a 4/4 so late in the game that it doesn't actually matter. That it's not like extremely powerful. Then salvage supplier, human peasant, 2 energy, 3/2. At the beginning of end step, if you have surveyed this turn, you may pay 1. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature. So once again, there's a lot of these creatures that grow other creatures at uncommon in various sets. Like, well, in the newest Kamikawa, there's the 1/1 for 1, which grows, well, it can grow itself as well whenever you cast an enchantment. Or in Goldheim, there was a 3 mana 3/2, which would put a +1/+1 counter on creatures that way if you used snow mana to cast it, and so forth. Or was there a limitation? It needed to be like colored mana in its casting cost to get the +1/+1 counter. I'm not sure. But yeah, I did want to put the 1 mana requirement there. I think way too many things in Magic are free today, which should cost mana, and that has been a problem in late years. Like, like certain sacrifice effects don't cost mana at all, and that just leads to horrible situations. So yeah. Then next, Rocks Tactician, Rocks Warrior, should be obviously Rhino Warrior, but whatever. 3 energy 4/4. As long as you survey this turn, your creatures have trample. Maybe this should be 2 GG or something. Just a little bit harder to cast. But I did want to avoid those double colored casting costs, because the singular casting cost just makes everything so much smoother and limited. I do have one spell which costs double G, double green, but yeah, in general I do want to avoid that, but also it would possibly make this, well, a little bit harder to a little bit harder to splash, which is something that you should take into account. But well, whatever. Um, then irritable undergrowth, plant elemental 4 energy 4/4, and whenever you surveil untapped card name. Um, I do have a very specific inspiration for this. Actually, weirdly, one of my favorite cards from the Tarkir block. I guess I have a lot of references to Tarkir block. But anyway, so in the first set, there's the creature named Pine Walker, uh, which is a morph creature. It's a 5 mana 4/4. I don't remember what the morph cost is. Probably 2 GG. Anyway, and when it morphs, it untaps itself. So that was the basis here. So well, this is more powerful because you can untap it multiple times. Although after but it's more like your opponent needs to look out before attacking. So it's like pseudo vigilance, but I don't know. There's a potential for there being like feel bad moments. So in that sense, it might not be a good idea, but well, here we are. Then Loxodon Protector, Loxodon Warrior should be Elephant Warrior, whatever. 4 energy, 5/4 trample. Your card name. When card name ATPs gain 3 life. Again, one of those common things. A lot of these cards running around. Uh, Usually they just give more life than 3, but I decided that I don't want the. It's bad enough that there's a new 5/4. If you're trying to be aggressive, it's bad enough that there's a new 5/4 on the battlefield. But if you gain more life than 3, that becomes even worse. Um, Although that is a lot less than many of these creatures have given in recent times. Um, there's one in, it's a common creature. I think it's in Midnight Hunt, which is a 6 mana 6/6 that gives life equal to the highest toughness among other creatures you control. Or in Kaldheim, there was the thing that 6 mana 6/6 that gave you 6 life. Although Honey Mammoth was 6 mana 6/6 that gave you 4 life. Anyway, it gives you less life. I just wanted to keep it like the life number, the amount of life manageable from the opponent's point of view. Then Elven Skirmishers, Elf Scout Archers, 6 mana 4/4, and with ETBs you may fight target creature with flying, or deal damage to a creature with flying equal to its power. I don't know how meaningful the second ability is. Of course, if there's a 4x creature or something, a creature that has 4 or more power, flying creature that has 4 more power and 4 or less toughness, the second ability is quite meaningful. But at the same time, I don't think that will be the case always. Although there are like other benefits from this. Like you can attack with smaller creatures and the bigger creatures, flying creatures, and if your opponent blocks, this can come down and shoot the thing down. Or so you're basically paying 1-for-1 cards wise. Don't know how the mana will end up, but that's a whole different thing. Or if your opponent is playing red, for example, you can like shoot the creature. You can like shoot the creature down instead of fighting it, which doesn't leave this card susceptible to like shocks or whatever. Just a little bit of an additional ability. Otherwise, the 6 mana 4/4 that fight are kind of, when they enter the battlefield, are kind of common as well. There was one in the Theros set at least, and I think there was one. Where was it? There was something very similar. quite recently, although I think they were both for GG. I think those were centaurs in Theros, and yeah, the other ones were in. Why am I picturing a dinosaur? But anyway, I think they were Ravnica. The centaurs might have been in Ravnica as well, but well, whatever. And then final creature, living landscape, elemental, 6 energy, 7/7, and card name may deal damage to the defending player as if it wasn't blocked. So that's an ability that's been around. I think Thorn Elemental had that ability, which was last printed in Dominaria, and some other creatures have had it as well. Also, I gave it this ability: 1 energy, discard card name, search your library for a basic land card, and put it into your hand. A little bit of hand smoothing. And obviously, since green has the ability to generally return creatures back into your hand, you know, this might just be, a way to slowly ramp towards itself. Well, not ramp, but make sure that you get to the amount of mana you need to actually cast it at some point. Then armaments from the refuse needs a better name as well. Enchantment 1 energy. And if you have 8 or more cards in your graveyard, creatures entering the battlefield under your control enter with an additional +1/+1 counter. So again, with the 8 cards, yeah. Again, also similar to the other uncommon creatures, Salvage Supplier, which can also give +1 +1/+1 counters. Although this does have very severe restrictions because many games won't last so long that you get to 8 cards. Then Circle of Life, enchantment 1 energy. At the beginning of your upkeep, survey 1. At the beginning of its end step, you may put target card in the graveyard to the bottom of its owner's library. So part of the point here is that you don't mill yourself out if you keep surveilling a lot of cards in the graveyard, but also if you know that your opponent might get value from a card in their graveyard, you can tuck it, or maybe like make it harder for your opponent to reach that the 8 cards in their graveyard, or just take that opportunity away if they already have it. Yeah. Then Sprig Armor, again, probably needs a better name. For Aura, enchantment Aura, basically, 4 RNG, flash, and enchanted creature gets +3/+2, and whenever you surveil, you may pay 1. If you do, you may return card name to its owner's hand from the battlefield or the graveyard. So, yeah. I made this kind of expensive because you can replay it a number of times. Yeah, and you can have weird tricks with it if you can return it to your hand mid-combat, which again does have the potential to to have that, so to get feel bad situations in the game, but I guess they can't be completely avoided. Then choose one, or if you survey this turn, both. My templating here is kind of awkward, but what can you do? Return target creature from a graveyard to your hand, or return target land from a graveyard to its owner's hand. Yeah, I made this somewhat cheaper than these have been lately. Like there was one Tastenkame Kavanian Dynasty, which returned 1 non-creature permanent and 1 creature permanent from your graveyard to your hand as an instant, and it costs 2 energy. But okay, made this cost 3G, and you have to surveil to get both effects. And also I limited the other effect. You can't return just anything you need to. Well, you can return a creature or you can return a land. I don't think you'll often want to use the land, but the option is there. There might be situations, maybe, well, outside of this specific format, it might have quite a bit of quite a bit of use. So where it can sign, like if you're splashing, let's say, you have one source for, you have limited sources for your whatever that thing is, with your splashing, and you've drawn the source, but not the splash itself. So, or you're surveilling and you see the source, but you're not, but you haven't drawn the splash card yet. So you might want to just put it in your graveyard if you know that you have this card in your deck, so that you can get it back, possibly. Also, there is a card that specifically lets you add mana of colors of mana you have in your graveyard. The lands in your graveyard could produce. It's in the commons. Finally, reclaim land, 1 energy, draw a card. You may put a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So basically explore, but yeah, worse, because it's hard to play this on turn 2. Although, again, well, specifically in this format, it's hard to play this on turn 2, unless you have like evolving wilds. So, but at the same time, if you're playing like Legacy, this could actually be quite powerful if you're playing like 12 fetches in your deck. Yeah. So I guess that's it for this time. Oh yeah, on the naming, I named this Reclaim Land, and I have a Claim Land here. So yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea to have these names so close to each other, but yeah. But okay, so that's it for this time. This was the last one of the uncommons. I do have some colorless uncommons I haven't worked on yet. Of those will probably be various, like, more, well, there'll probably be some religious artifact, but anyway, I'll get back to those later on. But next, I'll probably be moving into the rares, where I'm going to be working on. Well, I'm going to probably take a little bit of different approach. So now, currently, I've been going through colors wise, but rares are a little bit different. So instead of going through one color at a time, I thought that I would first start with coming up with various cycles. I don't know how many cycles I will have, but some amount of cycles. I do have ideas what I want to have, and I will get some amount of cycles, and I'll do the cycles first, and then the others. Probably I'll have to think about this, but we'll see. So okay, just spoil a little bit about the cycles. So, well, one cycle will be like rare creatures, rare legendary creatures, maybe rare, well, mythic legendary creatures as well. Actually, probably. But anyway, I'll have like major members of the factions at rare, and so what I thought about putting into mythic. I'm not sure if they'll be legendary. But I had this weird idea when I was, doing my constitutional today, meaning, well, my daily walk. Although was not a good idea to walk as far as I did today because there's so much ice around currently. But anyway, I did my grocery shopping at the same time. So what I kept thinking about was that before the mending, the planeswalkers were more powerful than they are today. Like extremely more powerful. Like they were all like Ugins and nickel boluses. Whereas, well, after the mending, they lost most of their power. Um, but what I thought was that, well, at the time, like, how do you fight gods in general? Well, fighting gods in Kaldheim isn't necessarily that difficult. So they're like powerful creatures, but they generally don't have abilities that make them immortal, like unlike the abilities from the Ixalan gods or the Teros gods. But anyway, so okay, so what do you do to fight these gods? That's specifically where you need these exile effects, which some effect that like gets rid of them in ways other than actually killing them, because you can't kill them. So I will have like a cycle of these gods that have basically lost their minds because they were dropped into this world, which, like, obviously when they were in their own world, they had like some sort of control over the world, and they were very familiar with that, like very connected to that world. But after after like some very powerful planeswalker back in the day just decided to get rid of them, and they ended up here. And because they couldn't handle it, they've not since gone mad. And well, yeah. And also I thought that since this is again the basic idea of the world, it's super Sargassy, so I'll put in maybe a cycle of rare planeswalkers. Like planeswalkers are some little bit less powerful than the planeswalkers we get in most sets. Because these are planeswalkers who have been unable to escape this place. Whereas maybe, I don't know, if Jace or Liliana or Chandra ended up here, they possibly could escape this. But these are like new planeswalkers that are not familiar with the process yet, so they're somewhat less powerful than most planeswalkers. So I have this idea to make them all cost 1, but we'll see. But yeah, I'll probably talk more about. I might do like a separate episode for the cycles, well, like explaining the cycles before going in the designs of the cycles. But we'll see. I have to get back to work tomorrow, so my vacation time is over. So the release schedule for these might be a little bit lower in the near future. But yeah, I'll try to still get these done in a well, in decent amount of time. But we'll see. So thanks for listening. If you feel like it, do the YouTube things, and I'll see you next time.